Hello, friends. I hope everyone is doing well. It is a beautiful Sunday afternoon here in the Pacific Northwest. The sun is shining, the birds are singing, and I hope the outside noise isn't too loud and distracting for you. Please let me know if it is. So, we are here today to do some sprints. I had our last sprint yesterday set for 10 minutes. However, I think I kind of want to do a longer sprint today and see how that goes. Let's see. What would y'all think about, it's kind of a weird number, but what would you think about a 35-minute sprint? I feel like 35 minutes is a long enough sprint for me to kind of focus and get in the zone, but not so long that I start to kind of space out towards the end. Hello, Jaylee. Hi, Daisy. Let's see. Jaylee did 9,000 words last month. Bravo. Yes, you should be proud of yourself. That's amazing. Were you typing or were you handwriting? I know some folks type and some folks handwrite. I greatly admire the folks who handwrite. I cannot do that. I do all of my plotting by hand, but all of my actual drafting I do on a computer or on my free write, so typing. Hello, Miranda. You type, yeah. I know. I don't think Ghosty is here today, but my friend Ghosty Plans, she does her drafting handwritten. So I am so in awe of her. She also has a YouTube channel. If you want to check it out, I'll put her channel in the chat. She is really fun. She has like traveler's notebooks and I love seeing her setups. She also started painting somewhat recently, so it's cool to see her kind of journey with art. So I think let's do a 35-minute sprint for this first one. And we don't have anyone sprinting immediately after me. So if we go over a few minutes, that'll be all right. Miranda says your first draft is always written in pencil and then you type it up after the chapter is complete. See, we got another handwriter. Do you keep track of your words? And if so, do you go through and count each individual word, or do you just say every page is about this many words and add it up that way? Because counting I feel like I would want to count every single word I handwrite, but also that gets really tedious and I don't know if I'd have the patience for it. Jaylee says, after the April challenge, do you still track how much you write in a day? I do. When I am drafting, let's see, I don't have any of the notebooks right in front of me, but I do track. And I'll show you. Some folks do this in Excel or some other digital format, but I keep track of my sprints on paper. So the first column is the date. Next is the sprint length, so how many minutes I'm sprinting for. My starting word count at the beginning of that sprint. The word count when I end the sprint, how many words I wrote. And then I also, when I am in a challenge month, I don't think I have an example in here, but when I'm in a challenge month and I am keeping track of how many words I write each day, I'll do a similar tracker, but it's how many words I wrote for the day, how over or under I am to the goal, so on and so forth. but I do like to keep track of my word counts, regardless of whether I'm in a challenge month or not. Let's see, Miranda says you use an average per page. Okay, or each line. You estimate about 10 words per line and then count them towards your word count. Yeah, I think I would have to do something like that too, because I think I would just get too tired of counting each individual word. Let's see. Ooh, Daisy is here to do the save the cat method on your queer ACOTAR idea. Very cool. My copy of Save the Cat is in rough shape. I love the Save the Cat book. It's when my youngest cat was a kitten, he decided he wanted to eat the corner of the book, and it's dog-eared. These pages have been dog-eared so long that they're falling apart. It feels very soft, like cotton, but my pages are. This book is annotated up, down, left, right, and center. I've got a paperclip in there as a bookmark for chapter 5, apparently, for something I was working on. But I love, 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 love my copy of Save the Cat. Eventually, it will need to be replaced, but it's still hanging on for now, at least. We'll see how long it lasts. Yeah, I love this book, and not everyone likes to plot this way, and that's fine. Everyone's got a different version of and a different way that they plot or don't plot, but I find this method really helpful. And even if I don't follow it exactly, where is they I don't see it. Well, I have the beat sheet right here. Oh, it's on my phone. Anyways, even if you don't follow it exactly to a T, it at least provides a really good framework. Miranda says you have the YA version. I've heard really good things about the YA version. I think there's a few different versions of it now. I want to say there's one for, mystery or horror. I can't remember, which I would be extremely interested in picking up. I do have a book specifically on writing horror. I want to say it's called Writing in the Dark or something like that. But this is my Save the Cat is definitely my most used. And a lot of the kind of plot beats for different genres, whether it's horror, romance, fantasy, a lot of them line up really well with this anyway. And it's really easy to just plug in, like for romance, let's say, you can plug in the first kiss at the midpoint, because after that, everything changes. So it's easy to take different genres of plot beats and figure out where they fit in to the Save the Cat kind of beat sheet. Let's see. Jaylee is trying, but you're also a pantser. Yeah. I wish I was a little less rigid in my plotting. I am a very rigid plotter. I feel like there are people who say, I'm going to write a book and just open up a Word document or a notebook and start. And they are on the extreme end of pantsing. And then there's people who need every single little thing figured out before they can start drafting. And then there's everything in between. And I feel like I am on the extreme end of plotter. I like everything figured out before I sit down to draft. And I do like to draft in chronological order. I have a hard time jumping around because, if I write scenes 1 and 2 and then I jump ahead to scene 17, there's so much of a gap. Even though I know what happens in my mind's eye, like I have my scene cards written out and I know what happens in chapter or scenes 3 through 16 to get to scene 17. When I start writing, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this, but when I start drafting, there's so much more that comes up that I didn't even think about. Characters have a mind of their own and talk to you and sometimes just do whatever they want and don't take your hard work into consideration. So I do like to draft in chronological order for that reason, because there's going to be things that I uncover along the way that I could never have foreseen. Hello, Jordan. I hope you're doing well. I'm not actively reading this book right now, but the book is called Save the Cat Writes a Novel. It's by Jessica Brody, and it is a really good book for figuring out, discovering, and plotting your own book. It was originally based on, or it was originally directed towards screenwriters for TV and movies. However, it's been adapted by Jessica Brody and is now helping many, many writers write novels, myself included. You're using Save the Cat Writes a Romance grid. Awesome, Daisy. I've heard the Save the Cat Writes a Romance is a really good resource as well. I never write romance. There's often a little bit of romance in my books, but it's always like a subplot or side quest, if you will. Miranda's kind of in the middle. You start with a brief outline, but you need to write in order too. Yeah. Even if I'm drawn to like the midpoint scene, let's say, and I can't wait to get there, I will wait until I actually am at the midpoint before I start writing it. Jordan says, so it's an introduction in the way. Yeah, it's sort of an introduction. It goes pretty in depth. It's about 300 pages. So there's lots of examples from movies and books out there. It really explains story structure in a simple way that is easy to kind of plug in, play with your own story. Jordan says, myself, when you used to write or type, you had to think of the characters, you had to think of the situation and how it was all connected and how it all came to be. Yeah, I feel like that's something I forget about sometimes. I, can think of characters and situations, how it's connected, but sometimes remembering to kind of rewind in your character's past and figure out how they got to the point where they are now, even at page 1 in your story, is sometimes right over my head. So it is something that I often have to kind of step back and consciously think about. Okay. We have been flapping I've been flapping my lips for a bit now. I say we set the timer for 35 minutes, and I will see you in just a bit. Well, our timer paused when there was a minute and 15 seconds left. So I think it's been 35 minutes. I think it's been a few more than 35 minutes, but hopefully y'all got some stuff in with those extra few minutes that we had. Oh, Ghosty, hello. I was just talking about you and gave your channel a shout out just a bit ago. I was talking about folks that handwrite versus type their drafts, and you came to my mind first. Welcome to the live. I hope you're doing well. Jordan asks, does anyone know an author called Karen Slaughter? No, I'm not familiar. Jaylee does, though, and loves her. What genre does Karen write? Hello, Fox. How are you? Miranda says, dishes are done. Now you can actually write. Bravo. I will probably have to get up in this next sprint to switch the laundry and get some more of that going. Today is the day that I wash bedding. So I've got the comforter washed and that's drying. The waterproof mattress protector is in the wash right now and probably almost done. And then I have to get the fitted sheet and pillowcases into the wash next. Hello, Havron. I hope you're doing well today. Ghosty says, you just got the little guy to nap. Now you can write. Got to make your plan for the week and write lots. Yes, get all the words this week. You can do it. Yeah, thank you, Miranda. I don't know why it paused. That's bizarre. Luckily, I don't think it was paused for more than a few minutes. Let's see. Ghosty says, funny you say that. You're handwriting right now. Just got to handwrite the last few scenes of this book before you can type it up. Bravo, bravo. And you are doing revisions, right? You're not, or are you still drafting? Are you on a second draft? I can't remember if I'm remembering that correctly or not. But let me know. I got my HB90 planner, which is the Erin Condren dashboard layout. I got this all updated, caught up, and I made my May plan and I reset my Kanban board back here, which you can see most of. But I'm going pretty easy on myself for the month of May. One, because I have one of my very best friends coming into town at the end of this month, and she'll be staying with us for about a week. So that's going to be, eating up a lot of time in the best way possible. But that will take up a lot of my time. And then I am also going to be job hunting this month, and I have a few positions that I have in mind that I will be applying for. And one of them, the one I really want, is an administrative assistant with one of the state departments. And I'm really trying not to put all my eggs in that basket, but I'm really hoping I get it. And that job should be posting here in the next week, maybe two. So I'll be applying and interviewing for that. And I want to make sure that that's a priority, getting my application out and everything. Thank you, Ghosty. You say good luck job hunting. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. So I just kind of want to keep my calendar kind of clear. And then I've got some other family stuff going on. I've started therapy recently. So there's a lot kind of going on in my brain, which has made it hard to focus the last couple months on my writing, although I'm doing more than I thought I would be. So yeah, I've got my Kanban board pretty sparse this month, but I did that on purpose. So now I'm ready to jump into my writing, and I would love to know, Ghosty's handwriting. Miranda's done with the dishes and transitioning to writing. Did you all like the 35-minute timer? Should we go longer, shorter? We've got about an hour left, and I'm fine to go a little bit over because, like I said, there's no one streaming sprints right after me, so we do have a little bit of wiggle room. Although my IRL planner bestie messaged me, and I was texting with her, and I said I'm live streaming right now, but after stream, I am thinking about going over to visit her and her twin babies. They're the sweetest little beans, and I cannot wait to go hold them and love on them. So, okay, people are saying 35 is good. So I don't want to go too far over because it's going to eat up into baby time, but I am fine to go over a little bit. Let's see. Ghosty says school ends for you this week and summer starts. I'm sure you could hear that. Sorry, my window's open. You're so nervous. You're purposely keeping things sparse this month, too. Yeah. Well, it's transition is always hard, but I'm sure you'll get into the summer groove pretty easily. School is out really early for you. Is it because it's hot in Utah? Are you in Utah? I think you're somewhere in the mountains over there, Utah, Montana, Idaho, Colorado. Because I think you're only 1 hour ahead of me. But transition is hard, and I bet it's hot, and so school may start earlier. School where I am in Washington doesn't get out until like mid, sometimes late June, usually middle of June, but it also starts later. It usually doesn't start until after Labor Day, or even a week or two after Labor Day. Lacey says you're at the park surrounded by kids screaming 6'7", send help. Oh no, we'll come get you. We'll come rescue you. Ghosty says twin babies. You're a twin. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's so cool. Are you an identical or fraternal twin, if you don't mind sharing? The twins are fraternal. I don't want to say too much because they're not my children to talk about, but they're fraternal twins, a boy and a girl, and they're still tiny babies, teeny tiny babies, and they're so cute. So I'm excited to go give them some Auntie Sara love. Fox says you're trying to cross more things off your to-do list so you can actually write during your stream tonight. Fingers crossed. I will cross my fingers and toes for you too, Fox. Ghosty says, yes, you didn't have any snow or snow days in Utah. Oof. Yeah. I suppose it probably depends on what part of Utah you're in. No snow may or may not be normal for where you are. You're an identical twin. That's so cool. I didn't know that. That's so fun. Okay. I am going to set the timer again for 35 minutes since it seems like folks are liking that time. Hopefully it doesn't pause on us this time. I'm not sure why or how it did that, but I'm going to start the timer, go switch my laundry, and I will be back in a few minutes. All right, everyone. There was no ding. I don't know why the timer is stopping at exactly 1 minute and 15 seconds left. Is there some kind of weird setting I have? I don't know. I'm going to have to mess around with this because for some reason it's not liking 35 minutes. Okay, well, let's see. Jaylee said you're going back and working on your prologue before going back to your chapters. Ghosty says, let's do this. Yeah, Havron, I'm not sure why. I don't know why it's not playing nice today. Miranda says when you use Focus, the timer tends to pause when you're not on the tab. Interesting. I wonder, it's never done that to me before. This is the first time I've experienced this. But, I don't know. I'm going to try, what time is it? It's 1:43, so we'll do a shorter focus session this time. And let's see if it still kind of gives us grief at the exact same time, stamp or not. And maybe I'll leave my my mouse over here in this window just to see if what Miranda's saying helps me out. If I stay in the Focus tab, maybe it'll play nicer. We'll find out. But it is very bizarre. I've been using Focus probably for a couple years, I want to say, and I've never had this issue before. I wonder if Focus is having issues at large or not. We'll see. I was working on not fully restructuring Act 3 because it feels very big to try and redo right now. I did, so there's, the one big thing that happens in Act 3, kind of end of Act 2 into Act 3. And I was saying yesterday that it feels kind of drawn out, and it feels like it takes up more space than it needs to. So what I'm trying to do is maybe condense that a little bit so that it doesn't take up all of the actual real estate in Act 3, which means that there will be more kind of empty spaces to fill. And I already have some empty scenes. 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 8 really empty scenes in Act 3, which feels like a lot already, especially for trying to correct an issue of the main event taking up too much real estate. So I need to try and space it out because I want the plot beats to I still want certain things to happen at certain plot beats. So condensing it doesn't necessarily help, because if I move this whole event to Act 3, I still want the Dark Night of the Soul moment to hit where it is and how it is. And I still want the break into 3 to hit where it is currently in terms of plot events. So trying to, I don't know. I don't know, because maybe it's a pacing issue. You guys are hearing me speak out loud. All of Act 3, with the exception of like the resolution, takes place in under 24 hours. And it's a big event that you're not doing anything else. Like your entire world and life stops to deal with this one thing that's come up. And so to try and I just got an idea. To try and really like keep those plot beats the same, I said, and make this not feel drawn out is hard. And maybe right now I'm following the Save the Cat plot beats pretty faithfully. So I have 2 dig deep down scenes. I have 3 scenes for executing the plan. There's 3 spaces for the high tower surprise, or space for 3 scenes. There's 2 scenes for executing the new plan. There's 2 scenes for resolution. So maybe I just cut like one of the execute plan scenes and one of the high tower surprise scenes. And there's also at the beginning of Act 3, 3 scenes for gathering the team. And maybe I only do 1 or 2. There's 4 scenes for Dark Night of the Soul. And I can maybe cut one of those in one bad guys close in scene. And then I can pull 2 scenes out of Act 2A. But I don't know. There's a lot of finagling and moving parts that go with that. I don't know. I could talk myself in circles all day. Havern says, I need to make a series Bible, but you have no idea how or where. Sara at Heart Breathings, actually, I think she has a video series on series Bibles. I'm pretty sure. Let's see. I'm looking it up right now. Yes, Jaylee, this will be available for replay for sure. All of my live streams are available to replay. I often like to go and rewatch live streams as well and use it for productivity and kind of body doubling. Okay. So Sara, if you go to Sara, which is Heart Breathings, our fearless leader, I'm sure probably just about all of you are here on account of finding me through her. But if you go to her YouTube and just search series Bible, you will find that there's a whole playlist of how to create a series Bible. She also has a video it's an older video, but she has a creating a series Bible wiki. And then she has a more recent playlist. Maybe it's not that recent. No, that's definitely her old house. Anyway, she has another series of videos or playlist on how to plan and write a book series. So I would check out those. I feel like there aren't as many resources out there for writing and planning a series as there are just for individual novels. But there's definitely some resources out there. And I found it really easy or helpful to take the Save the Cat beat sheets and kind of spread that out so that those important beats like the break into two and the midpoint and the dark night of the soul, all of those kind of line up with the larger story, and you can kind of mess around with those finer plot points and beats to see how many books it ends up being. I don't know if I hope I'm explaining that well. I don't feel like I'm articulating it well. Let's see. Rita says, of course, I'm not sure what. Oh, Heverin is telling Rita, of course you can do that. Yeah. Jaylee says you need to do a series binder. Yeah, I had started a series notebook, but I abandoned that series for now to work on this book. But we don't need to talk about that right now. Lacey says, series Bibles, you need a digital mapping tool to keep yours. Yeah, I waffle back and forth on when I finally flesh out my series Bible. I waffle back and forth. I want it on paper because that's how my brain works best. But having that Control F function is very enticing. And being able to find things so much easier in a digital landscape versus flipping through pages and pages of physical paper, even if it's well organized. There is something appealing about using a digital tool for a series Bible. Ghosty says you use a notebook for everything, one notebook for each book. I do the same thing. Every book that I work on gets its own notebook or two, depending on how much paper I go through. Jaylee says, you found me because you were using a sterling ink for writing. And I said, I found my girl. Love it. Yeah, I am a sterling ink girly. All of my planners, all of my notebooks are sterling ink, with the exception of my HB90 planners, which are Erin Condren. So everything else is sterling ink. I love the notebooks. I am sold. I don't see myself moving out of sterling ink for a very long time. I'm someone who, when I find something I like, I tend to stick with it for years. And my tastes will evolve over time. So I'm sure there will be a day where I move on from sterling ink, but I just can't see that happening right now. Ghosty says Ellipsis is really good for a digital series Bible. I've heard so many good things about Ellipsis. One of my coworkers actually showed me Ellipsis about a year ago, and they're not even a writer. They were just like, hey, I'm chronically online, and I saw this thing and thought of you. And so I looked at it about a year ago, but I haven't ever played around with it. But I see a lot of folks are making videos on it now on YouTube, and a lot of folks are really liking all of the features. So I could definitely see myself using Ellipsis in the future. I do have Scrivener. I've had Scrivener for about maybe 6 or so years. But I've never tried making a series Bible in there. Ghosty's been using Ellipsis for your typed drafts, and it's amazing. You can access it on a computer or phone. I did see that. The multi-platform feature seems really nice. And it seems like there's also a collaboration feature. To what extent, I don't know. But I've seen some folks talking about how it looks like it could be good for collaborative projects as well. So, okay. Well, it is 2:00, right? Well, almost 2:00. We've got 5 minutes. I have not heard from my bestie about the babies. Yeah. I would like to go hold those babies. So I don't want to do a 20-minute sprint. That was before I flapped my lips. Would you folks rather just end sprints now, chat for a few more minutes? Or would you rather do like a 10 or 15-minute sprint now and then I'll sign off after that pretty quickly. So let me know if you have a preference. I think if we were going to do another sprint, I'd do like a 10-minute one just to keep it short and sweet. But I also don't know what I'm going to do with my writing right now that would only take 10 minutes. I'm kind of in the weeds with it right now. I feel like I've got all of these like strings in my hands and I can't untangle them in 10 minutes. Chat and then you have to go, says Havron. Ghosty says, go hold babies. Miranda says, thanks for the sprint. I'll see you at Fox's. Jaylee says, I'm good. We can come back. Okay, well, yeah, let's just go be with the babies. Yeah, let's just chat for a few minutes. We'll get rid of the timer here. We'll put it on. Ooh. I didn't know there was just this. Oh, that's right, because you can add tasks. My face is blocking it, but there's in the bottom here, there's a spot to add tasks. I've thought about updating or upgrading to the paid version of Flocus because there's just a lot more features. And I've used Flocus for a while. Like I said, I think I've been using it for a few years. So I've definitely gotten some good use out of it, but I just haven't decided to actually commit to using the paid version, but I do really like Flocus a lot. Okay, well, I don't feel like I got as much done as I would have liked to, but I'm kind of in that noodling phase of plotting where could you hear that? There was some kind of crazy noise. It sounded like someone's brakes or something that were not working properly. It was a very loud squealing. But I was kind of just noodling around, and noodling always takes longer than you think it will and longer than you think it should. But I'm glad that I got what I did done. Noodling is productive. Yes, thank you. Sometimes you need to hear it because sometimes you're just sitting there staring out the window, brainstorming, and you feel like you're not getting anything done. When in reality, that's just part of the process. So, Ghosty, I am using the Traveler's Company. I need to take this out. This is from my old series. Let's see. This is my Traveler's Company. It's like a business card book. You can see here on the back page, there's slots for business cards. However, I'm using it for Save the Cat, beat sheet, and plotting. This is the step. I've implemented this as the step before making scene cards because making all of these scene cards to have them change possibly multiple times is a lot of time spent, and this feels less committal. So what I've done is on the inside of the business card, like on the inside of the clear pocket here where you would slide a business card in, I have put the Save the Cat beat. You can't see with the glare from the light, but this says opening this purple note card here or sticky note says theme stated. This says setup 1, and then we move to the next page where we have setup 2, 3, 4, 5. We have the catalyst event here, and I've gone through the whole business card book like that. And it actually fits the Save the Cat beats perfectly. There are 3 scenes or 3 slots here for potentially 3 more scenes. And if you wanted to, you do have, there's no slots like plastic sleeves on this page, but you do have a back kind of like flyleaf page and the actual back cover where you could add more scenes if you needed more space, because that would give you, let's see, you could even do it on the front kind of flyleaf here, the title page, and then you've got this. So you have potential for 6, 9, 9 times 2, 18 more scenes if you needed that extra space. But I've really been liking this because this feels really easy to move my individual little scenes around. If I don't like where something is, I can just move it to where I think it should be. And it feels more non-committal, I guess, than scene cards. Scene cards, in my mind, feel very finalized. Scene cards are what I use when I'm drafting. But this is like, I have more, I don't have more space, but it feels like I have more space to noodle and play around with the order of scenes, and have more freedom than I do in my plotting notebook. So this is where I do my brainstorming and everything, but I feel more restricted in the physical space in my notebook when I'm playing around with the order of scenes and the structure of the overall story. This feels a lot more freeing and easier to kind of flip through as I'm plotting than my actual plotting notebook. But yeah, I'm really loving it. And it's similar to note cards. I suppose you could just use index cards and do a similar method to this, but this I'm really liking as my kind of pre-scene card phase. So that's what I've been working in. And it's a book, it's tall, but it's got a really pretty slim profile, although all of the index cards kind of bulk, or the post-it notes bulk it up a little bit. But I do like the kind of slim profile, and I just have been using the elastic for my Sterling ink jelly cover to kind of hold my my faux or pre-scene cards in place, and this works really well. And then I've got my little clear envelope here. I don't remember where I got this. Planner Monkey Co. Stationery Pal. I honestly can't remember. But I have this to hold my scene cards and my Post-its that I chop in half. And then I have my little pencil case here. This is my really lightweight kind of bare bones essentials in here. And then I just have these things, and I can head out the door with minimal supplies. So I've really been enjoying this system right now, and kind of traveling a little lighter than I usually do with either this pencil case, which I love, or my big Delphonics case, which I love this thing. I asked for it for Christmas, I think like 3 or 4 years ago from my mom, and I had been lusting over one online for ages, and I was so excited when I finally got it. And I love this thing, but it's a lot to carry. So this feels much lighter, especially summer when I'm, you're wearing lighter clothing, you're out and about more. This feels more manageable to me. So Jaylee says I should try scene cards. I encourage you to try them. If they don't work, they don't work for you, but at least you can say you tried. And I feel like different kind of plotting methods or processes will work better for some novels than others. So if scene cards don't work for you with what you're working on right now, doesn't mean they never will. But you can at least say you tried it. But okay, well, I am going to sign off. I'm going to text my friend and see what she's up to. see if she wants me to bring her some tea or coffee or anything when I pop over to visit. So just writing out the scenes you want to have. Yeah, Jaylee, I would recommend, if you're in the plotting phase, I would recommend what I like to do. And Sara over at Heart Breathings has a lot of videos about plotting. So I really recommend, she has a whole series about plotting, and she has a series about plotting scenes, and she does talk about index cards and scene cards in that series. But I would recommend, when you're first plotting, thinking of the big overarching things that are happening in your story, like what's going to be the thing that kicks off the action, or kind of kicks the story into gear. um, and then the catalyst, well, that is the catalyst, what kicks the story into gear, and then thinking about the midpoint and the kind of dark night of the soul, where the character feels hopeless and they're never going to get what they want, and kind of taking those bigger pieces, and you can scribble them down on an index card, on a post-it note. Sorry, dogs. Hold, please. But using index cards or post-it notes to kind of play around with different ideas. And then once you have the bigger structure somewhat figured out for your story, then you can kind of fill in and use the scene cards to kind of fill in the puzzle pieces. So, yeah. And like I said, Sara over at Heart Breathings has lots of videos on plotting and scene cards. She's a great resource. So, Havrun, you're so welcome. Alrighty. Well, I will see all of you soon. Not next Sunday, but 2 Sundays from now. I will be here same time, 3 p.m. 3 p.m. Eastern. I stream the first and third Sunday of every month at 3 p.m. So you're so welcome, Jaylee. Yeah, do check out Sara's videos. They're very helpful, and a great resource. So, alrighty, I will see you all here in a couple weeks. And until then, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.